EastEnders spoiler: Harry's day takes a heartbreaking twist. Teddy's long-awaited court hearing finally arrives, bringing tension and uncertainty for everyone involved. After Harry eventually confides in Gina about the full truth regarding what happened with Okie, Gina and George gently encourage him to do the right thing. They persuade him to show up at the courthouse and offer Teddy his support, even though Nicola has firmly warned him not to get involved. Once they are inside the courtroom, the entire Mitchell clan is left reeling when Teddy's final judgment is announced, sending shockwaves through the family. As the day continues, Barney makes the significant decision to move in with Zack, a choice that immediately stirs up fresh conflict between Zack and Nicola, who already share strained relations. Feeling overwhelmed and emotionally drained, Harry later heads to the Arches, where he tries to cope by taking more drugs. However, things take a frightening turn when he unknowingly consumes too much, causing him to suffer a dangerous overdose. At the same time, Sam pushes ahead with her newest plan, refusing to be deterred by anyone around her. Concern begins to rise when Jack and Denise discover that Sam has completely skipped her appointment with the doctor. Realizing something isn't right, they quickly inform Phil, and together the group sets out to confront Sam and get to the bottom of what she's hiding. Elsewhere in Walford, Lauren begins making preparations for Oscar's upcoming 18th birthday party, eager to give him a celebration he'll never forget. She throws herself into the planning, determined to make the milestone special, despite everything else happening around her. Meanwhile, Kim is filled with regret after learning she drunkenly agreed to sell her beloved car to Yolande. As the reality sinks in, she struggles to remember the details of the conversation and wonders how she managed to get herself into such an unexpected situation. EastEnders reveals who is behind Zoe's newest threat amid Christmas lights chaos. EastEnders has now unveiled the identity of the person responsible for the latest disturbing warning aimed at Zoe Slater, as even more explosive scenes take over the square next week. When Zoe accuses yet another family member of tormenting her, an unexpected confession flips the entire mystery upside down. Zoe has been plagued by a series of unsettling threats, including a message in the barrel store and a Christmas card packed with photos of her. She has pointed the finger at Anthony, Vicky, and Jean, but she's still no nearer to uncovering the truth. In the upcoming episodes, during Walford's festive Christmas lights switch on, a new chilling note appears in the Vic's window, pushing Zoe into panic all over again. Later, Zoe discovers something in Tommy's bag that convinces her he has been behind the threats the whole time, leading her to accuse her half-brother of orchestrating everything from the start. However, around the same time, Lily challenges Jean and reveals she witnessed her setting up the shocking display in the pub window. Jean confesses and makes it brutally clear that she wants Zoe out of their lives. As Lily struggles to process her grandmother's admission, Jean shows no guilt whatsoever, though she claims that the Christmas lights stunt was the only incident she engineered, and that the remaining threats were done by someone else. Still unaware of Jean's involvement, Zoe unleashes her fury on her entire family in the Vic after accusing Tommy, causing chaos to erupt. Kat eventually decides she has to ask Zoe to leave the pub, and Zoe ends up turning to a wary Anthony, who offers her a place to stay. Lily, already worried that Jean is overexerting herself, becomes even more anxious about her nan's mental well-being as the week goes on, especially after Freddie leaves Walford to travel with Anna. Determined to help, Lily approaches Anthony and shares her concerns. But when she informs Jean that he recommended booking a GP appointment, Jean reacts angrily and refuses outright. Lily keeps urging Jean to get professional support, but the question remains, can she convince her nan to accept the help she desperately needs? Courtroom twist in EastEnders, as Teddy's choice determines his fate. Teddy is currently being held in custody after taking responsibility for the death of Tobias Okie, the man who kidnapped and brutally tortured Harry for months, leaving him traumatized and dependent on drugs. Unable to watch his already deeply scarred son face a possible life sentence, Teddy deliberately placed his fingerprints on Okie's weapon and gave a full admission to the crime, while Nicola Mitchell kept Harry distracted. Once Harry realized what his father was doing, he sprinted across the square in a desperate attempt to stop him, but he was far too late. Teddy had already been taken away by police and later formally charged with murder. Without Harry, or his other son Barney Mitchell knowing, Teddy has entered a guilty plea, and Nicola has been doing everything in her power to hide this devastating truth from a fragile and unstable Harry. Still battling a powerful addiction, Harry relies heavily on Nicola, but his desperation for drugs keeps escalating. When George Knight calls by to check on him and accidentally reveals that Teddy has pleaded guilty, Harry completely loses control. Overwhelmed by remorse and humiliation, Harry confesses that he was the one who killed Okie. However, just as George persuades him to come forward and do the right thing, Nicola abruptly derails everything by declaring that she is pregnant and that George is the baby's father. As George and Nicola attempt to process her shocking admission, Harry slips back into drug use, and when they return home to discover he has disappeared, fear takes over. After tracking him down with the help of Gina Knight, George convinces Harry to show up at Teddy's court hearing, despite Nicola arguing against it. Inside the courtroom, the Mitchell clan is left stunned as the judge announces Teddy's sentence. Immediately afterward, Barney Mitchell decides he wants to move in with his biological father, Zack Hudson, which infuriates Nicola, while Harry heads to the Arches with a stash of drugs. But what punishment has Teddy received? Is he about to vanish from Walford for a while? And can his family ever rebuild after this? EastEnders spoiler, Sam agrees to a surprising deal, but there's a major twist ahead. Sam opens up to Jack and reveals that she has discovered a lump, admitting that she's terrified it could be cancer. She confesses that she hasn't gathered the courage to visit a doctor yet, fearing what she might be told. Before Jack can respond properly, Phil barges in and interrupts, demanding she hand back the money she took from him. Concerned, Jack later shares Sam's worrying admission with Denise, who instantly realizes the seriousness of the situation. Determined to help, but also suspicious of Sam's motives, Denise steps forward and decides to negotiate a deal with her, in hopes of pushing Sam into getting medical help. Later that day, during a Branning family dinner at number 31, Sam becomes increasingly uncomfortable as she picks up on the atmosphere around the table. It doesn't take her long to work out that both Denise and Jack were bluffing all along, using the deal as leverage rather than a genuine agreement. Feeling both fooled and frustrated, Sam chooses to walk away from them and instead turns to Phil, asking if he can offer her somewhere to stay. As tensions rise, Sam begins forming a backup plan of her own, a mysterious plan B that could change the game completely. Meanwhile, Honey confirms to George that Nicola really is telling the truth about her pregnancy, leaving George even more conflicted about his future. Wanting answers, George meets with Nicola so they can talk things through, completely unaware that Harry is home alone and sinking deeper into his drug use. By the time they return, their worst fear is waiting for them. Harry is nowhere to be found, and a hastily written note reveals that he's vanished without a trace. Elsewhere, Kat steps in to warn Zoe that she should keep clear of Anthony, worried that getting involved with him will only lead to more trouble for her daughter. And over at Lily's family dinner, emotions run high when Stacy's name comes up. Jean, overwhelmed and unable to mask her discomfort, quietly excuses herself from the table, leaving Lily even more concerned about her nan's well-being. EastEnders airs Mondays to Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. on BBC One and BBC iPlayer.